guys, and good morning. Thank you for coming back. So today I am super excited to be interviewing another Australian author called L.L. Hunter. I have never personally met her, and I went through her book catalogue, and I'm actually super excited. She writes paranormal romance, fantasy, contemporary romance, and I'm just ecstatic because there were quite a few books in her catalogues that I want to grab immediately and read. And she's a very interesting person. She studied from veterinary nursing to forensic science to then like musical and drama, and it's just she's a very interesting person. So I'm excited to ask heaps of questions. She'll be releasing book 41 as of 30th of April, and I'm super excited to talk to her about that. So let's get straight into it. Let's find out who L.L. Hunter is and become her new fangirl. Come on. Well, first and foremost, what part of Australia do you live in, and how do you find living in Australia?
I live just north of Sydney, and I love Australia. It's such a great country. So it's so beautiful and chilled. I prefer living outside of the city. The city is crazy. I do work in the city though, part-time. So it's good. And I write from home, so it's good to have that balance. Yeah.
Amazing. What, if you don't mind me asking, what do you do for work part-time?
I work at the State Theatre just as a front of house person.
That's cool. So one of the things I was really intrigued about you was your background. You have studied a very diverse range of experiences, and I was curious as to, because you've done veterinary nursing, you've done forensic science, you've done dramatic arts. So I was kind of curious, firstly, as to how you sort of started getting into those.
For a few different reasons. One was I was just looking for something when I left school to study, and I loved animals. So the first sort of course I did was the vet nursing, but then I found it really hard to get a job in that area, it's particularly in where I live. Finding a job is not easy. So yeah, I went to study more, and so I studied dramatic arts with acting, dancing, and whatever comes with that. I also studied most recently forensic science, which is another one of my passions. I've always loved science.
That's amazing. So it just like blows my mind a little bit because they're all so diverse. So would you say that probably forensic science was your favorite, maybe?
I did love vet nursing too. Well, they're all kind of what I like to do.
Yeah.
They're all kind of my passions. So I don't know.
That's amazing though, because that is such a like diverse range of passions. And so then I guess like my next question was, do you think studying those things, especially forensic science, because as soon as I think of people studying forensic science, I think immediately of crime shows and things. So do you think that a lot of that has incorporated and helped your writing?
Yeah, absolutely. I do have one crime series, the Adelaide Page Saga. So I implemented what I learned in there. So I love watching true crime, and particularly the more procedural sort of forensic detailed shows. There's not that many out there, like the true crime, not like CSI or anything like that. So yeah, I really wanted to write a series that was more procedural and had more forensic detail.
That's amazing. So you could be more technical with it because of that.
Yeah, so my character was a forensic pathologist.
What does that mean?
So, okay, it's also like not like a coroner, sort of like they do autopsies.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that it might be a little bit, would you say that your works, I've personally never read your work yet, but would you say that it's more on the gruesome side of it, or it's more you have the technicality there but you don't go into too much detail when talking about dead bodies sort of thing?
I did want it pretty detailed, so I've grossed out some of my readers.
Another thing I found super duper interesting about you was you've been writing since your teens, and you write very different things. You've written plays, you've written like fan fiction and musical. I think you do song lyrics as well. Fan fiction. I
Yeah.
want to know what are the difference between those sort of, because obviously I've only written novels and poetry, and sometimes columnist bits, and obviously all of them need different kinds of writings or different forms. And the ones that you've done all shape very differently. So how do you find writing them, and sort of what have you written? What fan fiction? What I want to know more about it.
Well, I wrote fan fiction, like, it was one of my first things. When I was studying drama and that, I used to write the plays and the musicals there. I just wanted to start writing, not in a script format, but in a sort of novel format, more fleshed out story. So I just began playing with, my favorite TV shows and books. So I started writing my own versions of that.
So what kind of TV shows and books were those?
I have a couple of supernatural ones. The Infernal Devices by Cassandra Clare, with like Jam and Will. I can't remember off the top of my head right now. There's lots of books and lots of TV ones.
Did you post these? Did you publish these, or?
Yeah, on a fan fiction website.
One thing I've always been intrigued by is song lyrics. So I'm wondering too, do you play any instruments or do you sing?
I sing, yeah. And I used to be in a band, so.
Amazing. I don't know. I've never ever tried to do lyrics because I know it won't be my forte. But how do you find that? You're still implementing a story to a sense in it, or?
That gets more like poetry, but you have to think, there's like a novel, there's sort of like, there's a hook, and then, there's a, the bridge, and then it is more like poetry. It's more prose. It's not like novel writing.
That's cool though. It's because I've spoken to a few musicians and they've never really been able to like explain it to me. They're just like, yeah, we just write the lyrics. It's like, well, I don't know how that works, and I guess it does make sense though that it is kind of like poetry in a sense. You just have to, and then when you write it, do you have to think of what music would be going to it in the background, or you sort of write it and then find music to go with it?
I'm not musically inclined at all. I was a singer, but I can't play. But I had a couple of friends who I used to jam with. So my friend Alana, she was also in the band. She co-wrote with me, and then we had a couple of musicians. They did the music, so she can play the guitar, but I can't. I just sing.
That's amazing though. When was the moment you realized you wanted to start writing books, and why did you choose self-publishing?
As a creative person, I've always done something creative. It's just I have to express myself that way. It's a form of therapy, and I know I've always just wanted to be a writer. It just came along sort of naturally. When I was younger, I'm like, oh, I'd like to be an author one day. Yeah, it just sort of came naturally.
And how old were you when you published your first book, if you don't mind me asking?
I was 24, 25.
And how did you find the process? Because self-publishing is very difficult. How did you find the process first going into it? Because a lot of people hit, I know I did for myself as well, like you hit bumps and things that you didn't expect when going through the process. So how did you find the self-publishing process?
I did a ton of research. I knew nothing when I started. I networked with other authors in the genres I sort of wanted to write in, and that I loved. So, and I talked with them. I found out who their cover designers were, who promoted them, that sort of thing. And then I went from there. And that's all about networking and that.
Yeah. Did you do a lot of the networking more so, I'm assuming, as maybe a reader prior and then going to conventions and signings, or was it mostly online, or both?
Yeah, a bit of both. But I didn't start fully immerse myself in this book world until I started. Yeah, so after I was published, I sort of, started going to signings and author events and that sort of thing.
Do you sign at conventions?
Yeah, I've done quite a few events. I'm limiting what I do now because I've got to make decisions based on my business and what's better for me money wise. Like if I know I had to pick the events I know that I'm gonna make a profit at.
And I think that's the hard thing too. A lot of people don't realize how expensive it is even to go to a convention and sign in. And I was very optimistic in the first 2 or 3 years because I wouldn't always come out with a profit. And I would always think, it's okay, it's exposure. But when you get further on in it, at the end of the day, from a business perspective, it is a financial loss. So you need to know, I guess, from experience, if you go to a consecutive signing. So, for example, I enjoy going to Cat T. Mason signings. They're always really, well covered. And then I've been to others that haven't been really well executed. Do you do supernovas?
I did. I've done a couple of them, but it's another one. I found it not as profitable. It's like the Sydney one's 3 days, and it's so exhausting.
I did the same thing. So I've done supernova, I think about 3 or 4 times, and I think for now, currently, I won't go back to any just because for me they haven't been very profitable. I know authors that they do great in it, and it's just, it is what it is. So as an author, what do you think your strong suit is? And what do you think is one thing that you really want to develop on or learn on?
Oh gosh, I hate talking about strengths and weaknesses.
But you're a successful author, so I imagine you have many strengths. And I know that everyone always wants to work on themselves in some way, so it's not exactly a downfall, but I know I want to get better at marketing. But I imagine you have a lot of strengths because you are successful in what you do. So you're doing something right in many areas.
Yeah, thanks. I guess I've been told, this is what I've been told by my editor and by readers, is that I'm pretty good at crafting addictive strong characters, and some of my books might be a bit shorter than others, they don't drag, they get right to the point, they're action packed, and they keep readers hooked.
So you've got very impactful books, very fast paced.
Yeah. So
what do you think, what's one thing that you personally want to work on as a writer or an author?
One of my goals this year is to work on my marketing and that. So I guess that's one of my weaknesses. I'm still learning a lot about ads and about, creating content that will engage readers and, building my relationship with my readers.
What do you think the biggest misconception of being a self-published author is?
I think there's a lot of misconceptions about when people hear self-published, they think, oh, it's crap, it's like poor quality. But yeah, I disagree with that. I think there's so many amazing self-published indie authors and artists out there, and some of them are a lot better than some traditional published books, in my opinion. So I don't think it's that, but what I've seen lots of people think of self-publishing as poor quality.
Your best-selling series, The Legend of Archangel, is it? Okay, cool. Sorry, it's like a long one. Wait, that's a 6-book series. You've now completed that and you wrote it within 3 years. How did you find writing that? So 6 books within 3 years, but then you also started other series during that time as well. So how did you find the process of sticking consistent with this, but then doing other stories and characters as well for other books?
I have no easy answer to this. It's just the way my mind works. Okay, so when I get an idea, I'm able to swap. I'm able to change quickly from one idea to another pretty easily. It's just the way my brain works. There's no other way I can explain it.
So you find it quite easy to sort of conclude with that book and then move on to the next and then come back without any lack of transition. It's just fluid for you.
Yeah, pretty much. But if it's been a few years, like the one I'm working on at the moment, it's set in that world, my Nephilim universe. So I'm working on, I think this is the 13th book in that series. So there's 12 so far out in that world. So I'm finding it hard to it's been a while since I've been back to that world, so I've got to refresh my memory.
That's amazing. So you have a world and you bring numerous different stories into it. So I guess perhaps, for example, like Cassandra Clare's, where she has obviously the world, and you do the same. That's amazing. That's very complex as well. Wow.
Yeah.
So what is this? You're working on book 12, was it?
13.
13, sorry. That's amazing. Yeah. Congratulations. How many books have you written altogether?
So about so this month my 41st book will come out.
That's amazing. And what book will that be?
Girl in the Spotlight. It's a contemporary romance book.
I do have a question on that. It was further down, but I'll ask it now. But you primarily write fantasy, paranormal, and then you did go into that series. So now that you're working on book 6, but these are very contemporary. These are about Hollywood and paparazzi and celebrities. One, my question is, how did you get into that and why? And two, how did you find the difference of writing, the paranormal world to the contemporary?
How I started with that is that I just got this spark of this idea for the first book, Woman in the Photograph. It came from inspired by a Taylor Swift lyric. You can probably see that I'm a huge Taylor Swift fan. Her lyrics inspire me a lot. So that idea came from just one line in a song.
When you heard that line, you got the inspiration for the first book.
Yeah, so imagine two strangers meeting in this, this, it was meant to be a private party, but then this photo leaked and, secrets revealed to the world. Then they have to deal with the aftermath of that.
That's so cool. So is it a very sort of, I guess, does it bring out a more, not nastier side of Hollywood? I personally haven't really read any Hollywood-orientated, Hollywood. I worked in a bar in Scotland for 10 months and they had a drink called Hollywood. But do you bring out a lot of, I guess, more the starstruck stuff and gossip and fandom? Is that what, and their romances, correct?
Yeah, they're romances. No, I do. It's mostly about the behind the scenes, what it's like to be a celebrity. So in the first book, it's about an actor and a writer that they fall in love. Their photo was leaked and then they kind of fall in love, and she's thrust into this world of celebrity and paparazzi and rumors really, really quickly. So yeah, and I have written about what it's like with the rumors and the tabloid headlines and the fake rumors and everything that goes on behind the scenes. So it was so much fun to write. But I just found contemporary so easy to write. It just flowed compared to fantasy is easy sometimes too, but there's a lot of world building involved with a fantasy or paranormal. But contemporary, it is set in the real world, so you don't have to. And these are more adult ones. They're new adult, and compared to my paranormal fantasy ones, they're more young adult. So I was able to be a bit more freer, not only with the language, there's a few more swear words and my characters of legal age, they can all drink and all that sort of thing.
So I saw that there were photos of you. You're very active in the author community. So I've seen photos of you at conventions and signings with other authors, because you're obviously very supportive of everyone else's career as well. And I even saw photos you attend, in public libraries or spaces where people are guest speaking and stuff. So I was wondering, what are some side projects that you started doing because of this with maybe even other authors, or why you think it's so important to be in the author community?
I find it's all about, you know, writing is a solo activity, but it's also, we've also got this great community of other writers. So it's really good to talk about, you know, what's going on. You can vent to each other. You can talk about things that most other people don't understand. And I just love supporting. I'm a reader as well. Like, I was a reader first. So when I go to book events, you know, I'm there as a supporter, like a reader, not only an author friend. And I'm a huge supporter of other writers. And I often promote other authors on my blog and social media.
And I guess it is important to be networking and socializing, because you're right when you say nobody else understands the process or the challenges that we have. So when you do talk to somebody who's also published 1 or 30 books, they completely understand what you're going through and you don't feel like you're going insane by yourself, at least. What do you think has been the highlight of your career so far?
So I've had an agent back in, I think, 2013, I think. I got my rights back from that and then self-published. But yeah, so that was one of the highlights. It was a big agency in New York, and they were talking about, you know, film rights and print deals with big publishers and that, but they sort of went broke and I had to get my rights back. So yeah, it didn't really happen, but I guess it was a blessing in disguise, because, you know, I got all my rights back, and then I could do whatever I wanted with my work.
And that is an amazing achievement, because it's very difficult these days to get an agent, let alone a very high-end one in New York as well. So congratulations. And it's really nice to hear that you're really happy with how everything went out, because now you're fully in control of everything as well. So
Yeah.
that is a cool highlight.
Yeah, that's one of the things I love about self-publishing too, is I just love what I just can do whatever I like. I'm a bit of a control freak. Yeah, I can do whatever I like.
We always have moments in life where somebody says something to us and we have a penny drops moment, or just the way that somebody goes about something and it just really impacts us. And I was wondering if you've had one of those experiences in your career, that whether a reader has said something to you and it's changed your perspective on something, or have you experienced one of those sort of life-changing moments maybe in your career?
I think so, but I can't remember exactly the moment right now. But yeah, I think I've had a lot of life-changing experiences, perspective-changing experiences in my life, whether it be, you know, an author I really admire or idolize telling me they've read my work and they love my work. So I guess, yeah, that's one of the most important things, and like the wow moments for me. Yeah.
And you openly admit that you're an introvert, which is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering too, only because I know that writing books and going to signings built my confidence. I was only young when I first came into the industry, so I didn't really know who I was as a woman, let alone as an author. And I found over the years it's really built my confidence and my courage. Like, there are so many things I've done and put myself out of my comfort zone because of my writing. Do you feel the same throughout your career?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, you just asked my family. I was a really shy girl when I was growing up. I didn't have many friends at school, so I hid in the library and read books. And when I started, you know, drama, it was also a good catalyst for helping me come out of my shell. Working on in this author community and writing books and meeting people, and also, you know, work at a theatre, talking to people all day long, all night. So it's kind of helped me be more confident in myself.
So one book that did really grab my attention when I was scrolling through your catalogue was the Agua series. I looked at book one, so that was built in 2004. Well, sorry, the story is in 2041. The world's, been flooded and it's immersed in water. So the main character, she lives on a city that's floating, and that concept alone really intrigued me. How do you find, because obviously it's a dystopian, it has, I'm assuming it's an adult and romance as well,
Yeah.
but how do you go with writing dystopian? Do you have, because obviously there's a lot of world building, you need to make it realistic in a sense for readers to agree with it as well. So how do you find, do you have a process? Do you have a big whiteboard, or do you just get pictures, or is it all in your head? What is your process for creating such a big world like that?
All a different type. I have a different process. Mostly it's in my head. Like I get a spark of an idea. This one, the Aqua series, came from a dream, a really vivid dream I had. So when I was sick, and I often when I'm sick, I'm a bit feverish. I have what I call fever dreams, and they're more really vivid. And I woke up and I just couldn't forget what I dreamed of, like this young girl in who could breathe and live underwater in this underwater world. There's her father is this mad scientist who is obsessed with gene mutation and that sort of thing. When I get the idea in my head, I jot it down, I flesh it out, like I write notes on my phone. And I'm really bad sketch artist, but I drew, had to get a feel for what the city was like and where they live. So I tried to draw that. Didn't turn out very well. I'm not gonna show you. I'm not gonna reveal it to anybody because it sucks. But yeah, that's just for my personal thing.
So I think definitely that's one of the books. I don't know, it just really intrigued me. So I think I'll probably grab a copy and read it in the next few weeks because it definitely grabbed my attention. And the cover is stunning as well. After writing over 40 books, what has been your favorite one to write and why?
They're all special to me in a way. Like they either came from dreams or an idea or a concept that I've always wanted to write. It's really hard to ask someone what your favorite thing. It's like asking what your favorite child is or something. I guess my favorite is probably the Legend of the Archangel. Like the Chronicles of Fire and Ice was my first novel, and it's sort of what started everything. So I guess it just holds a special place in my heart.
That's amazing. And I think too, not a lot of authors can agree that their debut novel is one of their favorite. Because I know I look back at mine and think, oh goodness, I was so young, it's so terrible. Goodness, the concept's great, but the writing chopped. No, I'm kidding. But it's really nice to hear that you absolutely love your first book because it's what started everything for you.
Yeah, I'm in love with that world and those characters. So yeah, Scarlet and Diston will always have a special place in my heart.
I love asking this question, what is your biggest goal? What is the dream for you as an author? What are you chasing?
I don't know, it'd be nice to be, be a bit richer, or probably fly business class to an author signing overseas or something like that.
Maybe we can start bringing the Hollywood scene into your life a little bit then.
Yeah.
Book 7 will be about how you changed from going to business class to New York for your signing.
Yeah.
So I have a couple of quirky questions at the end. So the first one is, if you could be a shapeshifter, what shifter would you be?
Oh, this is hard. Probably a cat. I don't know. I think probably a cat.
Oh, a big cat. I thought like a house cat, and I was like, that's a very particular one.
Yeah, a house cat. Yeah. This is Oscar.
He's beautiful. Is he ragdoll or Persian?
Yeah.
Is he your writing buddy?
Yep. Yeah, he's been laying here next to me the whole time.
Really? That's so cute. How old is he?
He's 1.
So who's your favorite author to follow and why?
I follow quite a few. The author of the Caraval series. Have you read that? I love that series. I love her Instagram. I can't remember her name right now. My memory's so bad in the morning.
So have you had your
Yeah, I've still got coffee a bit.
same. Like we should.
It takes me a while to wake up. But yeah, there's quite a few authors I follow. Cassandra Clare.
Cassandra Clare was actually the author that got me into writing. So I remember
Yeah.
when I started reading her series when I was 15, and I started writing when I was 15, inspired by the Mortal Instrument series.
Yeah, I love that series too. Yeah, she was one of my inspirations as well.
So what's a quirk that you have that a lot of people don't know about?
I have a photographic memory in terms of experiences. I have a really bad short-term memory, which is why my memory is so shocking in the morning. But yeah, my short-term memory is pretty bad, but my long-term memory is pretty good. So I can, even though I haven't read my own work in a while, I can remember scenes and that sort of thing. So, I don't take a lot of notes or anything. Everything's in my head.
I'm just like, you are actually badass. Honestly. I want that skill. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, the only bad thing about that is that if there's something bad that happened, so that I find it hard to forget it.
What's the weirdest nickname you've gone by?
I haven't really had a nickname. I don't know. I never really liked nicknames. I've been called Laws, and like, I don't know. I haven't really had a nickname.
After this, that's going to change because I'm going to find the cutest nickname for you ever.
Okay.
What's your favorite food?
Pizza and chocolate.
That's a good combo. That's like a sleepover party combo right there.
Yeah.
So those are all my questions. Do you have anything else you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about your up and coming release or anything else you're working on at the moment?
So I guess we should talk about my next book. It's Girl in the Spotlight. It's Hollywood romance, contemporary romance. It is, I don't know, if you haven't read it, I don't want to give you too many spoilers, but it's essentially the characters Chloe and Jack's daughter. So Chloe and Jack from the first book, Woman in the Photograph, it's their daughter, and it's her story.
Okay, and how many years after is this? So how old is the main character in this one?
So she starts at 18, and then it jumps a few years at the end. So she's like 21.
Cool. And that comes out on the 31st?
The 30th of April.
30th of April. There is no 31 days in April. Oh, it's too early in the morning. Okay, 30th of April. Amazing. And is that on everywhere or is that Kindle Unlimited exclusive?
Yep, it's wide everywhere.
Amazing. All right, well, I'll put the links then underneath so everyone can grab your copy. But thank you so much for doing this interview with me today. I am a fan already, I could tell. I'm like looking through your list now and I'm like, which one do I start with? I think I'll start with the Agua series, to be honest. But that's irrelevant. But thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. It's so much fun.
Well,
I always wanted to do some of these.
Amazing. Well, we can do plenty more. I'll get you back on in a couple of months and we'll do another one.
I'd love that.